and you have the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. And I've done a lot of searching for this. That normally we have the pasuk Zeh Shmi Le'olam, Zeh Shmi V'Zeh Zichri L'Doir Doir pasuk, and we say Zeh Shmi Le'olam Yud Kei Vav Kei. Le'olam is Le'elem Le'olam. It should be concealed. We don't pronounce Yud Kei Vav Kei the way it's written. Lo K'moshe Ani Nichtov Ani Nikra. We don't pronounce Yud Kei Vav Kei. So whenever Yud Kei Vav Kei comes up, we always use a different shame. Generally, we use the shame Adni. I mentioned last week, I think, that you have the two Yuds. When you have a double Yud in the Siddur, it's the Yud Kei Vav Kei, the Yud of the beginning of Yud Kei Vav Kei, the Yud for the end of Adni. That's the general situation. But there are exceptions to this, and that is usually either when Yud Kei Vav Kei is adjacent to Adni, or perhaps to or when it comes, sometimes, anyway, in Tillim it also comes up, and there's a Mesorah where, although the Tanakh is written without vowels, but there's a Mesorah which passes down the tradition how the vowels should be made. Before I go further, Zeshmi Le'olam. Le'olam is the Nekudas Shvo, Cholim Komets. And that is also the Nekudas, they are the Nekudas of the way Yud Kei Vav Kei is usually vowelized in the Chumash and the Sidurim, if it has Yud Kei Vav Kei, it's Shvo Cholim Komets, the same Nekudas as Le'olam, Shvo Cholim Komets. If you're going to have a Eid Bashachak Nemon, Shvo Cholim Komets. So okay, that's the general vowelization of Yud Kei Vav Kei is Shvo Cholim Komets. But there are exceptions, as we have in our Chumash here, where it's a Segel Cholim Chirik. And they are the Nikudas of the Shem Elikim. So Elikim is, Aleph is Segel, Chat of Segel, and then the Lamed is a Cholim, and then the Hey is a Chirik. So in these cases, when Yud Kei Vav Kei has this Nikud, and as I say, it's usually, almost always, when it's adjacent to another name of Hashem, so then it's pronounced as Elikim. It's also in the Psukim, which we say in the Malchei Zichronos and Rosh Hashanah, and also the Psukim said in the Ila. We have also a couple of times which is the Shem Elikim. I've tried to find the source. Where does it say this rule that Yud Kei Vav Kei, when it's adjacent to Adni, should be vowelized differently? So I didn't find an early source in Chazal. I couldn't find that. But we do have the Mesorah, and the Siman Hey in Orach Chaim talks about Kavonas Hashemis. So even in Shulchan Aruch, it doesn't say this over there. And the Bir HaGroi mentions it, but there are Sforim which mention it. But I'm saying if earlier Mekoros, whether it's in Zohar or in Shas, etc., this I couldn't find. But this is clearly the Mesorah of when it comes together with another Shem. So then we pronounce it Elokim. Just to explain one more point, that the Chatofin are really Bimkoim Shvo. The Shvo is a weak sound, a weak vowel, and when it comes in certain letters, they can't take the two. They are the guttural letters. They can't have a Shvo, and therefore, when a Shvo ought to have been on a guttural letter as an Aleph, Ches, Hey, Ayin, so then it's expanded to a Chat of Komets, Chat of Pasach, or Chat of Segel. So in Adni, because it starts with an Aleph, as you see here, therefore it should have started with a Shvo, but it can't take a Shvo. Therefore, it's a Chat of Pasach. What I want to just say is that view a Chatov as a glorified Shvo, and therefore the Shem Adni is also Shvo Cholim Komets. And so it's the same Nekudas as Le'olam, as also the Nekudas of Yud Kei Vav Kei in most instances. So Adni has got the same Nekudas, and therefore it serves to replace it. But in these exceptional cases, we have the Shem, the Nekudas of Elikim instead. One more thing, I want to add more things. Okay, I once heard a Shia years ago. I was in the Normandy, they had these Yachikala Shiurim, I think. And there was a talk about kind of Sfardi be Yotze from an Ashkenazi, from an Ashkenazi be Yotze from a Sfardi. Can I yeke be yotze from Polish, etc. Especially in the Gaya now and recent lockdown with the minyonim. Yeah, can you be yotze? So, this is especially, when it becomes negayim, when it comes to Shabbat Pasha Zocher. Are you yotze if you are Litvak and you heard Pasha Zocher from Polish? Are you yotze? So of course, those who are looking for medaktikim b'mitzvahs and trying to find chumras al gabi chumras, they'll find them again. And then I heard that in some places they have 4 different kriyas: one Taimani, one a Resvardi, one a Polish, one Ungarisch, just to cover all bases. Aber mis nicht b'derech klal. Kulam ahuvim, kulam brurim, kulam peischim es pihem b'kedusha v'torah. So all right, let me get invited.
Okay, fine. Go.
Now we have here a question about sucking a piece of fruit to suck out the juice. Now, there's 2 forms of this. You can hold, let's say, a tangerine segment and hold it by your mouth and suck it that way, or you can put it in your mouth and suck it inside your mouth. Kiven de osel yodon. I want to just throw in another little halacha. There is a din, a mile of making a bracha on a shleimer. That's one din. The mile of a bracha on a shleimer should be on the whole tangerine before you even start peeling it. But I want to throw in another halacha, and that is about the din of beria. And as you know, in Alter Rebbe brings in Seder B'chsanenin, there's a Yerushalmi which holds that if you eat a beria, I don't mean a spider, I mean a beria, a whole fruit, so then the Yerushalmi says you have to take a bracha achreina. Just like beria is choshev legabe taruvas, beria is choshev also legabe bracha achreina. So if you eat one small grape, so according to Yerushalmi, you have to make a bracha achreina. The Babli doesn't talk about it. So therefore, we make a point of not eating a single beria, or which is less than a kazayis. So either you don't have a beria, it's cut up before you brought it to the table, or you have a kazayis. So the din of beria, each segment of a tangerine, each whatever they call granules of a pomegranate, each one is called a beria. And therefore, if you eat one grain of a pomegranate, so according to Yerushalmi, you have to make a bracha achreina. So the solution is either you have a kazayis, or you have it together with other foods, which in any case you're making a bracha achreina. Well, this is all derech agav. Let's go and read here Shtikol Alter Rebbe's Shulchan Aruch. This is from Siman Shin Chaf, talking about the dinim of schita. The chol zeh lischet. This is talking about squeezing a fruit to get the juice out. But to suck out the juice from a fruit, just putting it, there's a word in Yiddish which is very, it sounds very good. It's a shmotzkin. So to suck it from you. So yesh matirim, some permit this. Afilu mizeisim v'anovim. Mipnei she'ein derech schita bekach. Because that's not the normal way. The whole issue of schita is to take a fruit and to create a juice like wine or oil. But to shmotzkin, to suck from a fruit, that's not a normal way of schita. And therefore, obotlo daite etzel kol odom. Therefore, it doesn't count for schita. That's the first opinion. V'yesh oimrim, she'af al pikein osu medivrei soifrim. Others disagree, and they say you shouldn't suck a segment of fruit to suck out the juice. Not a segment. And if you could choose, if you could suck from a piece of apple, same shaila. Kamoshe also linek befiv min habehema. Like a human mustn't suck from the udder of an animal. That's not the normal way of doing it, as discussed in Shin Chav Ches. But that's there. It's an isur of mefarik. V'gam yeshlochu shluchi of chatos. Perhaps this is not called so abnormal. For a human to suck from the udder of an animal who's shinigomor, that's totally not normal. It's normal to just squeeze the udder into a bucket. But sucking fruit, it's not such an outlandish behavior. And therefore, we have here two shittas, and he concludes that one should be machmir, and one shouldn't. Let's finish off. I'm going down, skipping to the second paragraph. The minig lahokel, but within is the minig lahokel, but hamachmir, even with bread, or let's say you dip challah in the fish, the fish juice, and you want to suck out from the piece of challah to suck out the fish juice, etc. So machmir should tolve olav brach. Then it says other payers will be makel. Okay, so this is all talking about holding a piece of fruit or holding a piece of bread outside your mouth and sucking from it. But then the question which I was asked was about having it inside your mouth. So here we have a quote. This is from the Sefer Piskei Teshuvos, who his basis is the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah in Sif Katan Yud Beis in Siman Shin Chov says even this about Madrake Shehu Derech Yanika. But if you put it in your mouth and you're sucking the juice out of the fruit while it's in your mouth, everyone would agree. Sorry about that. Come on. Derech Michael, who it can be considered Derech Michael. And so then he adds, this is from Rabinovich, who the Piskei Teshuvos. So he's saying, basically, the Mr. Brewer is saying, if it's inside your mouth totally, not a problem to suck, but you should make sure, so it should be totally in your mouth. If it's part in your mouth, part not, so then it would be considered subject to the dinim which we just discussed, that one should be lechatchila mach. Okay.
Diane Raskin?
Yes.
Can I just ask, if you have, for example, grapefruit wedges, you cut them into quarters or eighths, so you are they're in your mouth, but the peel part, if you're sucking the fruit and the juice at the same time, but obviously the peel is outside of your mouth. Do you understand what I'm saying? We could do that with oranges as well. Can you see could you see a problem with that, or is that okay?
You can see here, we're talking about chumras al gabi chumras, and therefore if you're just interested in eating a piece of grapefruit, not to suck, I don't think you have to worry. If you want to suck it, then we read here that there is a problem. Yeah. Okay. Rabbi, if you don't mind, you know what? If you put it on the chat, and B'li Neder, I'll look at the chat. I'll do it better than I've been doing till now. B'li Neder, I will look at the chat, and in this way we'll be able to run more efficiently. But I'll be able to respond to the chats. Okay. Thank you. Let's go on. The next point which I have on my list is a person asks a shaila, can a quartz countertop be kashered? So obviously this is something I won't find in the Alter Rebbe's Shulchan Aruch, etc. So quartz is apparently it's a composite of little stones, and it's put together with a very strong kind of glue of sorts. And actually I looked at a website called, it's by the CRC, which is the Chicago Rabbinical Council. They're one of the various rabbinical councils which have a very good website and guidance and kashering. And they take the position there that you can kasher a quartz countertop, whereas, let's say, ceramic, you wouldn't be able to kasher. So you might have, for example, tiles. Haven't seen it in a while, but sometimes people make a countertop made of ceramic tiles. That taka can't be kashered because we know the halacha that kli cheres cannot be kashered. This is especially relevant now. People are going on holidays. What can you kasher? What can't you kasher? To pour boiling water over a counter generally, I think, is enough for kashering. Bearing in mind also that the derech klal, people don't put hot food directly on the counter. Neither the previous users nor will you put food directly, hot food, directly on the counter. And so I certainly, you're talking about spills, etc. You're talking about mitzad chumrah. So to pour boiling water over a counter, min hadin would be enough. I'm talking about a counter, if it's a metal counter or a formica counter, min hadin, to pour boiling water over it, that would be enough. If you want to be machmir, you do it with an even malubin, which would mean don't schlep an Evan Milubin in your suitcase when you're traveling. They might ask you some funny questions by the immigration, etc. But let's say you take an iron, you heat up an iron, and you unplug it before you start doing this. You pour boiling water from the kettle, and then you go over with the iron, and it makes the water sizzle on the surface. That's a mahadrin kashering. Okay. Well, so the quartz countertop, they maintain that it's like one of those surfaces which like plastic, etc., which can be kashered. And so that's their ruling, and so fine, I'm okay to go along with that.